The master, yeah. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you got me? Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Is that a yes? Okay.
How are you doing tonight?
Surviving? Testing 1, 2, 3. You got me? Okay. Could you let me know if he's giving me a thumbs up?
I sure can.
Thank you. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good?
Yes.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Framework. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Just before this slides over and falls off the edge. Okay, just 2 more. Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Testing 1, 2, 3. Are we good? Okay.
Got it. There's a mute button down.
Okay.
it Dan?
Dan, Dan, are we good? Are we good to go? Are we good to start?
I know
Are
they were
we
not.
good to start?
Okay, we're good.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right, there was a ladder behind me 5 seconds ago, so I was just like, okay, there's a ladder. Are we good? We're going to call to order the Athol-Royalston Regional School District School Committee meeting for Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Miss Bobby Newman, would you like to start us off this evening?
Absolutely.
And the flag's over here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public input over there? Nothing on the... Is there? Okay, Claire's here. Okay. Nothing? Okay. Okay. Moving on to approval of minutes for December 18th, 2024. Is there a motion? Okay, motion is made. Is there a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. She wasn't here yet. Okay, thank you. Next, we have public input. Eric checked, and there's nothing written down. Is there anybody who forgot to sign in? Okay. Moving along, we have a student representative with us this evening. Laura's going to pass her microphone over. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
January highlights, 8 students from our mock trial team took on Francis Parker Charter at Leominster District Court yesterday afternoon for the team's first official competition. It was great learning experience as they received experiences and feedback which will help them in preparing for their second trial, which will take place next Wednesday against Lunenburg High School. The class of 2026 held its Winter Carnival fundraiser last Saturday morning, where community members were able to gather for a pancake breakfast and indoor activities for kids. The class of 2028 held a Winter Wonderland dance this past Saturday. AHS officially has 3 science projects submitted for the state science fair. Their first regional competition will be at the beginning of March. First semester for all non-ECA students will come to an end next Thursday, with midterm exams being held on Wednesday and Thursday. Fall semester grades have been recorded for our students in the early college program. Seniors on the campus at Mount Wachusett Community College earned grades of A or better in 30% of their classes, B or better in 67% of those classes, and C or better in 87% of the classes, and D or better in 97% of those classes. 39 seniors will be continuing on campus early college classes this spring, while 33 juniors will be taking early college courses at AHS. All spring classes will start next Wednesday on January 22nd. Upcoming events, we are pleased to share that the recently added AHS theater course has over 20 students enrolled and will be starting on January 24th. Initial discussions have begun with the ARMS PTO for our theater students to create production and perform a one-act play focused on adolescent bullying. Our Term 3 driver education course will also begin January 24th, with 25 students enrolled in the course. To date, since our first class will started 14 months ago, we have been able to get 75 students to complete the classroom portion of the course, 35 to complete the driver's portion of the course, and 30 of those students getting their driver's license, as the remaining students are still working towards completing the driving portion of the class. The District Around the World Literacy event will be taking place on Wednesday, January 29th from 5:15 to 7 p.m. at Athol High School. We invite all ARRSD families to join for a fun night of games and activities focused around literacy. Our academic decathlon team will compete in regionals on Saturday, February 1st at Ashland High School. Athol High School will hold its annual prospective student night for eighth grade students and families on Tuesday, February 4th. Those attending will be provided with a spaghetti dinner, Bears swag, and learn more about the Athol High School's offerings and programs such as early college and the Innovations Career Pathway. AHS senior Emily King is competing in the Junior Science and Humanities Symposium at the Roger Williams University on February 8th, where she is presenting a poster representation of her science fair project that earned honorable mention at the regional science fair last year. Come and support the 10th grade AP seminar students who will be holding a team multimedia presentation on Tuesday, February 11th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the AHS auditorium. As part of this course requirement, students research a specific topic and prepare for being able to present their findings during this event. All community members are welcome to attend. Athol High School's annual Multicultural Day is coming up on February 14th. This has become an annual event in which the school comes together to celebrate our diversities, backgrounds, and other cultures around the world.
So thank you so much.
Okay, this evening we recognized our Students of the Month just prior to this meeting, and I apologize, but I'm going to kill some of the last names here. So stick with me. At RCS, there was Kimber Reynolds and Kellum Corpy. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Corpy. Yeah.
Okay. Grayson Lecire, thank you. And Nehemiah Reyes. Thank you. Yeah, Nehemiah. Thank you so much. I do apologize. At Arms, there was Logan Posk and Terry Austin. And at Athol High School, there was Ethan Okiki and Harrison Gunderman. And our Subway Scholar athletes this month were Ethan Okiki and Tyler Kazmarzik. Congratulations to you all. We're very proud of you. Moving along on our unfinished business, we have the Commonwealth Virtual School Enrollment Vote.
Well, this came by way of public input at the last meeting, and I believe there was a parent that had reached out to a few of the committee members, just expressing concern that there was not enough openings in some of the virtual school programs. We did some research and found out that it used to be that the state set a 1% cap and you had to vote to either put the cap on or just remove the cap. The state then raised their cap to 2%. But at what we have on record for Athol-Royalston is still 1% of our population. So for the committee, it's your decision to choose whether or not you want to vote again to simply cap our virtual enrollment at 2%. So that's a choice. The other option is to, I have said this, but in complete transparency, the other option, I believe, is possibly to try to remove the cap. And I wouldn't suggest that anyway, because it's a little over the top. And I'm not quite sure how it would work at the state level, but.
So the state cap is 2%.
State cap is 2%.
And Athol is currently at 1.
Correct.
And can we move anywhere between that 1 and 2, or does it have to be 1 or 2? Sorry, no, you're good.
2% is the state cap, but the individual schools, I think it's 1. Oh, we thought.
I'll check it again.
I apologize. Russ is just checking. He's saying he.
Well, because there's two different caps. The state cap is 2%, but that's of every school in the state. And then I thought, I'm going to double check it now, but I thought it was still 1%. Any school that was above 1% can cap it at the 1% individually. There's not that many schools that are at 1%, but you are one of them.
So when you say cap it at 1%, does that mean we have no movement? No ability to move?
No, you could just not decide that it's okay to go above 1. I just don't know if you could say 2 or if
like
it's just
1.5.
no cap.
No. Oh, so there have,
Yeah.
okay.
But I can find out.
So if, yeah, can we make,
I was gonna say, do we wanna make a motion to maybe bring it to policy? We can investigate it further and talk about it
I'm
there.
concerned that there's a parent who really needs an answer, and I would, ordinarily, I would love that, and no, she's here.
Maybe we could just take it out of order.
If,
and
is
revisit
is there a motion to take this out of order? We're gonna do some research right here at the table, and we'll come back to you. Just sit with us, Pearl. Come right back. Thank you. Motion, is there a second? Motion made and seconded. All those in favor to move forward, and then we'll come right back? Okay. Next, we have RCS Nature's Classroom donation, the Boston Brewers Private Luxury Suite. I can talk a little bit to this as well. Come on up. We met with the PTO on Monday evening, and the PTO has agreed to run the fundraiser through the PTO. We were asking at the meeting, like, what work is expected of the PTO, and I don't know what that looks like.
So basically what we're asking the PTO to do is to handle the funding. I will create the tickets and disperse them between the middle school and RCS, and we will have the middle school Nature's Classroom coordinator collecting funds and getting it to the PTO, and I will be sending it to the PTO from RCS.
So is this for, going to help the 5th grade here as well?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So what we've done is we've opened it up to ARMS because it's a wonderful opportunity. So we want to make sure that as many families can benefit from it as possible. So we're definitely going to go ahead, and we're hoping that this will allow more students from ARMS to participate in the program.
And I know the PTO will ask next time we get together, but other than the handling of the funds and the letter for the donation, is there anything else the PTO needs to handle or do?
Nope,
Okay,
we'll take care of everything.
okay. So that was approved on Monday evening at the PTO meeting, and the funding will run through the treasurer, who is Nikki. Last name is, thank you,
Gillette,
Gillette,
yeah.
thank you. So she will be handling the funding for that, and if there's
Fantastic.
anything else that you
So
need,
I'll
you can
reach out to her and we'll set everything up. Fantastic. Well,
Awesome.
thank you for being there. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you.
Moving on, new business, AHS Peer Ambassador Program. We have a presenter here this evening, and please, don't make me say that last name. I'm going to torture Tom.
Yes, I'm going to call up Mr. Tom Shamgosian. Did I pronounce it right, Tom?
Oh, my
Excellent.
Thank you.
Hi guys, this is Tom. You joined us as the College and Career Readiness Coordinator. I'm Josh Held. I'm the Dean of Students at the high school. When Tom came in, he kind of reached out about what's going on in our eyes of the college program and how it might impact our school. Big conversation about we're taking 40 of our our best humans, right? And they're going off campus, right? We have a lot of great humans still, but 40 of them are off campus and they're really not back embedded into our school. So we started coming up with some strategies on what might bring them back. Turns out some of them want jobs, right? They want to work. So we got together, met with some staff, talked about ways we might incorporate them back into our school. And then Tom and I came up with a little program that he'll talk to you about.
Before you start, I want to apologize for not introducing Josh as well. I apologize. I didn't know you were speaking.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. I'm really enjoying my time in Athol and learning a lot every day. So Josh is 100% correct. It's all about culture, and that's what we're looking to really improve upon at the high school. And we believe that our college-bound students are the ones that we want to promote that culture. We talked about in being a student of success, learn everything you can from those who have been the most successful. So that's really what we're looking to do, is put those students in front of our general population, day in and day out as much as we can. So quick mission statement, we're hoping to bring the ambassador program, to bring the seniors who are full-time at the Mount back in the building to promote and foster student growth and development by motivating and modeling the behaviors needed for our students to achieve the highest level of success. The peer ambassador may partner with academic programs and departments, clubs, and extracurricular activities. So it's a little broad, and we're going to hope to use those ambassadors as we see fit, during the week. We're hoping that, our commitment to start would be to help students succeed by providing individualized coaching, tutoring, being on campus and available at Athol High School 2 to 3 days a week, up to 10 hours, attending after-school events in addition to classes and events scheduled during the regularly scheduled school day, motivating high school students to consider higher ed and talk about what's next, sharing essential pathway knowledge with high school students, demonstrating the why they became a student leader, and providing Athol High School students with quality advice to promote greater access for prospective students to various career pathways and higher ed opportunities after high school. So that's really the commitment that we're looking for from these students. Quick responsibilities, promote and model success, demonstrate academic success, help peers develop their skills and reach their full potential, promote student resources, activities, and events, assist students in becoming oriented, getting involved in student organizations, educate students about the many resources available, encourage involvement and engagement at school, assist at new student orientation and community events, work closely with administration to build and promote a positive culture. And we're hoping that the peer ambassadors accomplish these things by being available throughout the year and forming relationships with their peers. We believe that, it's a little premature, but this is, really what the picture of a ARRSD graduate looks like. And that's why we want to get them back in front of our students. That they excel through higher education, reach their career goals, and become change-making leaders in the Athol community. These student leaders will encourage fellow students to achieve their academic goals as well-rounded, self-motivated students. We're proposing that we pay our peer ambassadors $15 an hour, approximate cost per semester of $12,600 based on 6 students at 10 hours per week. We talked about we'll notify the students of the available positions through our monthly program. We bring the seniors in. We would do an application process. They would do an interview with me and Mr. Talbot. The selected applicants will receive soft skills training, and they'd be scheduled in collaboration with the 2 positions. The ambassadors will sign in and out of the building, and we've worked hard to identify students that we think will be potential candidates for that.
Questions, you guys?
So of the 8 that we have identified, have they been approached yet?
We're going to approach everybody at once. We did talk it up. and, you know, we will offer up to everybody and then do an interview process.
Okay. I just want to
and-
make sure it's fair and equitable to everybody. I've read
Yeah.
through who the candidates were and what your summary of the candidates are. So I just want to make sure it's fair and equitable to everyone based
Absolutely.
on all of the parameters around it. And then the funding for it, where does that funding come from? Is it,
That, as of right now, the plan is to use school choice funding for it as a pilot and then see how things shape up with respect to the FY '26 budget, and also evaluate how the program's going and see if we work it back into the general fund.
and would they be anywhere other than Athol High School, or is this just specific, these students
This
are
is specific
just?
to our school. We want to kind of.
So it's not part of like the internship program that kids go to other schools or anything like that? Okay.
In-house culture building, student leadership, student voice. That's our goal.
That's great. A lot of the comments that were, some of the seniors last year felt a little disconnected upon graduation, so I really appreciate this program, and great job putting it together. I think this is exactly what's needed, so awesome. Any other questions?
I just wanted to say, we did, first of all, I can't say enough about what a huge coup it is for us to have Tom. I think I'm giving him a swelled head because I keep saying what a great job he's doing. He has so many great ideas, and he's just a wonderful team member at AHS. But we do have the high school senior intern EP, yes. So it's a six-letter acronym. And so we were hoping, Dave and I did talk with Tom about possibly using it. The problem with that is that grant usually comes out a little later in the year. So I'm glad we have identified some alternate funding, but we should be able to pay for this easily through that. That's an annual grant, so I think we'll be good with that.
Yeah, we have a lot of awesome kids. We want to bring them back in.
We do. We're very fortunate. We're very fortunate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Oh, wait, you have to vote on whether
Oh,
or
yes,
not
I'm sorry,
you-
yes, thank you. Motion approved, yep. Motion
You
made and
don't have to
seconded.
stay
Any
up Unless
discussion?
there's questions.
Any discussion or further questions?
Thank you, jumping in.
Seeing none, all those in favor? That's everybody. Thank you so much, you guys are all set.
Thanks.
Next item for new business is the DG Networks Technology Update. And is Dan here with us? Dan will come and join us.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me here again. I'm just going to give you another update, like I did last time. This one, I think you have it all in front of you, right? Okay. So I'm just going to basically go through that, and like last time, feel free to interrupt with any questions. The first thing that I have on there, the federal reporting, that's the civil rights data collection. It's kind of an interesting report because it only happens once every other year. Other state reports that we do are 3 times a year, so it happens infrequently. Some of the terminology in the report is different than what we use day to day and for state reporting. And it measures student access, and this is something I pulled from their website, student access to fundamental educational underpinnings that impact equity and opportunity. They look at courses that kids take, the programs that they're in, staff, and other resources. And they kind of combine the data in all sorts of interesting ways. I don't know what they do with it in the end, but we have to provide it, and every school district does. And so that one is due March 7th, and we're working on that. And these reports are all tedious and a lot of, there's a ton of data that goes into it. The systems generally aren't the greatest websites that you've ever worked with. They can be slow, there can be problems. So it's just something that you start early and you push through it. Then state reporting, we're doing the school attending children report, SAC report. And that's another interesting one. Basically, if you have a kid that lives in Athol but attends a different school system, that has to be reported. The people from that school system will come to us to find out information about that kid. And so it's sort of a back and forth between all the different school systems communicating with each other, which can be difficult because we can't control how other school districts respond to us. So a lot of ins and outs on that one. That one's due February 21st, and we're plugging away at that one. We're then doing the NWEA MAP testing, and that's an assessment that measures student achievement. We do that in the fall, winter, and spring. And the winter testing started about 10 days ago, 9 days ago. We essentially configure the platform, and we make sure that the students and the staff are uploaded correctly, that that data flows from our Clever installation, which is the system that pulls all of our data from Aspen, brings it up to the cloud, and then distributes it out to other systems. And I think we've talked about that in the past. MCAS testing, this is a big one. So you're all familiar, obviously, with the MCAS. What you might not know is that DESE decided, we found out maybe a couple months ago, that they were throwing out the old, very reliable system that had matured over the past like 8 or 9 years, and they're going to completely upend it and do an entirely new system. So from the kids' perspective, you know, the questions, the testing, all that stuff is the same. From the tech perspective, it's completely different. It's a whole different system. The configuration has, how you configure the test has not been released to the IT departments yet. Testing is in about a month. So we're all a little bit uneasy about that one. In years past, when things like this have happened, there's been a lot more time to prepare for it. I think we were all caught off guard by the fact that DESE would do this. The old system worked really well, and my understanding is that the company that managed it, Pearson, wanted too much money, and so they're going with another company to save some money, and we're going to have to figure that one out. So we're attending training sessions. We're collaborating with other schools, other IT people, because it's obviously a really big deal, and we want that to go well. The next item is cameras and security. We're doing sort of a review of all of the district's security systems, camera systems. We're looking at the door access systems, and we're going to begin an audit of these systems, and that's something that will take some time. The last thing I have is translations. I talked about that last time. That's becoming obviously a big deal in every school district, where maybe it wasn't just a few years ago. And we've been meeting with the folks that are dealing with that, like at the Family Center, and we're working on a better process to get them data in better formats and grouped together in ways that make their translation efforts easier. An example would be, right now, they're getting some things to translate that are actually, they look like a document, but they're a scan, so they're an image. And you can't really copy text out of an image like you can with a normal PDF. So things like that. We're just trying to figure out how to get them the best quality documents so that their translations can be done faster and more efficiently. The last thing is, I don't think it's on on what I submitted, but I wanted to introduce Anthony. He is back there. Anthony, you want to come up and say hello? So the way we've been doing it previously for the first 6 months is we had a few different people. I was here a couple days a week. We had a guy named Cameron who was here a couple days a week, and another person, Malik, who was here 1 day a week. And everybody brought different skill sets, and we thought that was going to be a good way to do it. What I've decided is that having one person here 5 days a week, with myself also overlapping with that person, is really going to be a better system for the issues that we're working with. So Anthony has come on board. He's been here for about a week now. Yep. We hired him maybe 2 weeks ago to do this work, and he's fantastic. He's going to be here 5 days a week. He's the main point of contact for everything, and he's getting settled in, but doing a great job. I'll let Anthony just say hello.
I appreciate the kind words. I'm really excited to be here. I've met several people here so far. It's been really interesting getting used to the systems that you're using and just getting into the data. I'm really, I'm a big fan of spreadsheets, and I know we all are, right? And I'm just glad to be able to help out and be of service to people.
I can cut in and say I'm very pleased with how Anthony's performance has been going this first week. He and I are already texting about issues, and he's texting me, and I'm texting back, and then Dan gets looped in. But I will say, even for me and from my perspective, already it's a much more streamlined process when we have the same person here. So I am super grateful for Anthony. I think he brings a tremendous amount of skill sets too. So I'm excited to have him here.
And can I just say one other thing that I should have said at the beginning? A big reason that we did this is because, this update, I didn't just pick this data kind of stuff, the testing stuff. This is what we were doing. And it's really a lot of what we do. The tech assistants, I think I mentioned this last week, all 3 of the tech assistants in this district are fantastic. They do an amazing job, and they really handle the vast majority of the tech work, like what you would think of as the traditional IT work. What we have is an enormous amount of like testing configuration and MCAS and all these things that are what we call data work. And when Anthony mentioned spreadsheets, it all ends up in a spreadsheet at some point. And so Anthony has a tremendous amount of experience in dealing with large spreadsheets with tons of data, and in his previous job, interfacing that data with state compliance. So it really dovetails very well into the work that we're asking him to do here. So that's another part of the reason why we brought him on board. Yeah. Any questions? All right. Thanks very much. See you next time.
Thank you.
You want to go back? Okay, we'd like to go back to the unfinished business for the Commonwealth virtual enrollment. Do I need a motion to go back, or are we good? Do I need a motion?
I would make a motion.
Okay, is there a motion to return to the Commonwealth virtual school enrollment vote? Motion made and seconded. No questions for right now? Okay, all those in favor? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to head back to the Commonwealth virtual school enrollment. I did get some information, but do you want to speak to it a little bit before we discuss?
Yeah, so it is 2% for the state, but 1% per district. So you have to notify DESE. You have to vote by March 1st of each year and notify them by March 8th. But you would be capping at 1%, except that if you are already a little bit over 1%, people aren't kicked out of the virtual school, so it would stay at whatever you have. Now, I think what probably happened here, and there's a template attached to the DESE advisory on it. So my guess is at some point you voted years ago to cap it at the 1%, and that stayed in effect through to this point. Because the template letter says, as of this school year, we're capping at 1%. And you have to use this template letter for the state. And throughout the letter, it talks about capping at 1%. It doesn't talk about being able to cap at some other number. And the regulation and the statute also just have the 1% number. So it looks like you would have to either cap at 1% or not have a cap. And you could make that decision by year. So if you didn't have a cap this year, then next year you'd have another chance to vote on whether you want a cap or not. So I would say that would be my opinion. If you wanted, I can call the state or email the state and say, hey, this is what it looks like. This is what your template says. Is there any flexibility to say the cap would be, 1.5% or something? But it doesn't look like there's anything that really allows for that I see in either the advisory or the law.
My question is, so in the moment right now, are we able to vote to change it so this family could get into, or would that just be effective for the next school year?
So that would be for the next school year, because right now for this year, you have a cap. You have the cap in place at 1%.
During a school year?
It looks like you have to do it by March 1st for the following year.
So what's to say we go over that 1%, and we end up at 1.1%? Like you were saying, they're not going to kick anybody out of the program.
They're not letting anybody in the program.
Right, because they look at our percentage as it is right now.
So this year is based on last year. So,
Yeah, I get that.
So you're already locked in for this year at 1%. This vote would be for next year to change it.
And I can understand that. What do we do now for someone that, as a district, that just came into the district?
There are other options for the parents. So this is virtual school she's asking for. There's homeschool, which is another option for her, which she does have. For this evening, if we were to try to put a vote together, it would only be for next school year, according to what the template says. According to what the template says.
If you accepted
okay?
our son.
I just don't want the runaround. There's so many kids that can, benefit from this. There's no 1.5. It's, right now, the town of Athol is at 1%. The state is at 2%. All you guys have to do is go to the state level. There's no in-between, there's none of that. You just get rid of your 1% cap that is outdated from, you don't even know. Because you don't even know.
And you're Googling it now.
So
Well, he's reading the law now.
So my daughter and my kids, I have
we
4
did
kids.
this last month.
4 kids at home that are waiting for me to come home and say, they raised the cap to 2%. You guys can start at the end of the month. That's what my 4 kids at home are waiting for right now.
So,
I beg you. I beg you. I don't want to do these meetings anymore. I don't. I have a full-time job.
The fact that you put us off and you're
Please,
Googling it
just
really
vote. It
irritates
says
us
right
because
here.
we came to you
It
last
just
month.
says Commonwealth Virtual School enrollment vote. It says on the agenda tonight. Here I am.
Discuss it here. Have a seat.
You discuss it and Google it.
Well, he's reading directly from the law what the law is. He's our lawyer. We can't make a decision without the lawyer.
There's a couple things he doesn't, but he's on point. I'm not saying he's wrong.
Okay, so if you have a seat and let us finish the discussion, that'd be great.
So, I looked at this last time. The only thing I was looking up is something Matt mentioned about a 2%, but that 2% that's just the state cap. There is no change in the law from the 1%. So the last meeting, when you discussed this, I did look it up, and what it says is if a school committee, this is right in the DESE advisory, if a school committee is considering restricting enrollment in the CMVS, which is Commonwealth Virtual School, for the upcoming school year, the department requires the vote to be taken by March 1 of the current school year. So that already happened last year, so you're restricted this year. So if you wanted to do it for next year, you need to tell them by March 1 that you're no longer going to restrict, because you're already in the restricted status from prior votes. What was that?
Vote was affected, so we didn't vote on that last year.
We didn't vote on it last
So
year.
would that technically be in
so
effect
this
for this
is-
year?
Stay in place.
So let me,
Yeah.
let me read this template. So with the template, so once you decide to vote, you send this letter in that they require you to send. And the letter indicates that the blank school committee has voted to restrict full-time enrollment of future students in the Commonwealth Virtual Schools to 1% of the district's total enrollment because of whatever reasons. This goes into effect as of the blank year. So my guess is you did that years ago, and as of that year and going forward, as long as you're over 1% for your district, that stayed in place, which is why the virtual schools are saying yours capped at 1. So if you wanted to change that, you would need to vote, and according to this advisory, it would go into effect for next year.
We just vote.
No, it will go into effect immediately as soon as the superintendent's office faxes the paperwork. And my kids can start on January 23rd. There's no March 1st, there's no March 1st nonsense.
The no cap and send that in and see if that changes her status
It does.
at all. And then we still have February to vote if we wanted to.
I mean, you could,
Yeah.
Roadblock kids. Stop roadblocking my kids.
listen, this is really a public meeting, but it has
Yep.
to be the committee talking.
Okay, I'll be
So it
quiet.
can't be a back and forth. What I would say is you could try to vote, if you decide to vote in that direction, you could send it in, but their advisory says it's only effective for the next school year, so you could try to do it. It's a 2019 advisory, so potentially they're, make an exception, but I would say based on the advisory language, they wouldn't, but you never know. I mean, it doesn't mean don't try.
I'd like to make a motion that we do vote to change the cap and send a letter into the,
Do the no cap.
to do the virtual school and send it in and to see if that can cause some movement for this family, at least.
Yes, thank you. That would be awesome.
I have a first and a second.
Yeah, we got
There is a second. Any discussion? Go ahead, Frank.
So, the question is, did we vote this ever, or is it just the advisory?
It's voted back before you joined the committee.
2019.
Yeah.
The district voted.
I know, but did we put that in a policy somewhere? Or is it, he's just reading the advisory from DESE?
You voted. You must have at some point, because the virtual schools are saying you have a cap.
And it could have been voted in several years ago. But
I think you, Tammy, do you remember anything about this? Back 2019?
6 years.
No, it's not 2019.
It's 2019.
is the date of the advisory. But the virtual schools are saying you have a cap. You are above the 1%. So at some point, my guess is some committee here voted to implement the 1% cap.
So either way, listed at a 1%
I mean, right
cap.
now
No, it doesn't matter when it happened, it's listed. So we just need to make it, if we make a change.
Make a change,
Yep.
and then we have next month, if she didn't get in, to make the change for
next,
year.
make sure
I
that
mean,
it
it'll
goes in
still
for
be
next
going,
year.
but
I think they're asking to do it twice, like send one in now, but send one in again for next year,
I'd
but.
like to see if she gets movement,
Right.
and then,
Yeah.
I mean, we can always go back and cap it by March, is what he's saying, but I would say a no cap now to open it.
How would that?
If it would be accepted, I guess.
I don't know if
Right.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that they would allow that, but you could try it if you want.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
I'd say
the
try
motion that is on right now, right, to just try it.
Yeah.
We can try. I just want to make sure that the committee understands what the implication of raising a no cap means. And I'll ask Matt to talk a little bit about what no cap means for the district.
Yeah, I can't speak to specific numbers. I haven't assessed who's interested. The cap is all or nothing. So it's either you cap it at 1% or you can't cap it at all. So that means anyone who is interested in leaving the district and going into a virtual school program can do that. 2% of the entire state.
It's 2% of
2% of the entire state.
No, the school district cannot go over 2%.
That's not correct. So that, anyway, we need to keep it with the committee, but they're two different caps. It's 2% of the state. Once they get to that, then nobody can accept throughout the state. And then you have a second cap, which is 1% by district.
So if we do it for this, try sending it in, see if it makes movement, put it on the agenda for the February, see if there was movement, and we can cap it again by March, if we needed to.
Special meeting too, if Desi didn't approve.
If
That's
hers
what you're
didn't
trying
go
to do.
through,
I don't know that they're gonna let you do that, but you
Right.
can try it.
We can try it. Can't hurt.
That's the best we can do.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it says on the
So,
agenda, we're
all right.
voting on it tonight, it says on the agenda.
Okay. All right.
Any other discussion?
Well, I was just curious, where, she wants to have it for the 23rd of June, which is not too far off here. Could we do it like an emergency for one-time process? Could that be? Could you do that?
I don't know if there's like I don't think there's like
Well, I mean, that's kind of what you're trying to do.
That's what we're trying to do. If we lift the cap this evening and send in that paperwork and lift the cap, and on the 20, whatever day it is she wants it for, she's able to enroll her students because that paperwork has been filed, great. But then we have to rethink about the cap again in February prior to the March deadlines, is what I'm understanding.
What about the people that are already involved?
They won't take them out.
Right, that's
They
what
won't
I'm.
take them out, so
yeah.
that
So
will
we
make
could
sure
go
that
back
they
to
are
1%.
in,
Right, right.
if, yeah, so.
Frank?
Do we know what numbers are currently? Do we have?
It's
How many-
over 1%.
No, I understand that.
Of our total enrollment here, so if our enrollment is 1,600,
I mean, just, our student classrooms are already large in some of the schools, It's not even gonna affect, as much as I would love for them to have any type of education, it's just, if they're not gonna be able to attend a classroom and get the education that their parents want, that we shouldn't be stopping them. I get the financial impacts. I get it. But at the same time, I know there's other options, but it's also 2025, and we have to look at those options. And I'd be okay with a no cap, but we still have to get the exception now for this instance.
Right, which is out of our.
And we can, that's a yearly thing we can vote on, like he was saying, the cap. So, I don't see there need to be a cap on for the continuance of this, but, and then yearly, we can reassess that.
So we vote now, and then we have to re-vote it again next month, just because we're,
Or look at it again, like, yeah.
to look to see if they were, because either we voted in now, and she is able to get her children in there, and then she's in the program. Right, oh, secondary.
I don't even know if it's what the policy is. I haven't even seen.
Yeah,
what
it's
the
not a policy,
book.
it's a state law, so it's not, has anything to
Yeah.
do with us, it's just
Yeah.
every district gets capped at 1%.
Yep.
Is there any other comments or anything to say? No? Okay. Russ, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
So if you vote in that direction, I'll send Superintendent Aaronworth the advisory with the draft letter. It goes to Ruth Hirsch, which I just looked up. I think she still works at DESI, so you would send the notification with some clarification added to it, because otherwise they'll think you're doing it permanently. Yeah.
I'll send whatever letters or take whatever steps the committee chooses.
How much effort has been put in on the parents' part for this also, you know?
So Matt,
May help.
if we're already over 1%, how did we get over 1%?
I think it's a matter of human bodies, that, we're under 1%, then they put another kid in, and then we're at like 1.3 or 1 point. Or our enrollment decreases,
So
yeah.
right now, 1% of what our population is 16 kids.
fluid-based
So basically, yeah, you're
if
looking
there
at,
were
Population
kids-
grows, less amount of kids are allowed to
yeah,
get
then
in.
yeah.
And our population here has grown, so not as many kids are allowed into the virtual school. So there's a motion made and seconded. Is there any other questions, concerns? Nothing? Okay.
Just clarify that this is just for the current situation
So,
that we're doing now.
so our attorney is going to send Matt the form. He will sign it with some clarification as to why we're doing what we're doing. There's one student in the district, and that it will make known that we will re-vote it again to whatever we choose to do in February for drafting a new letter and sending it in March. Is that correct?
I would caution against sending anything that says we're just gonna allow this one kid in now, because the rule is you either have the cap or you don't have the cap. If we wanna remove the cap now for whatever reasons, I would say you remove the cap, because it has to be equitable for all of the other kids. It can't.
We can just request to remove the cap. Now, as sort of a temporary thing, and then we
So
can
we request to remove
reevaluate
the
We
in
would
February,
have to change it before March 1st of this year.
Next year.
because we have March coming up.
And it's just an issue,
Yeah.
I think, once we see what happens.
Well, it'll have to be next month.
Yeah.
So-
The revisit will have to be next
Matt's
month.
gonna have to do like 3 different questions. One is, we want to remove the cap? 2 is, can we re-implement the cap for next year by March 1? And
Yeah.
the third question is, could we have a cap that's something different than 1%?
Yep.
I would ask all those things. So that way, by March 1, you can vote on
Yeah.
exactly what you want, you'll have an answer.
And if you don't mind me asking, what is the negative implication of not having a cap?
Not having a cap would just mean that any kid that wants to go to virtual school could, and without limit. And so if you had a bunch of people go, you'd lose monies here, because you don't get monies for the kids that leave, obviously.
Are there unlimited spots in the virtual schools?
There would be with no cap.
Yeah, but but the state limit,
Yeah.
But they can add seats.
the state limit though,
Right.
at least as of then, it was only at .13. You're nowhere near the state limit, so there would be no cap for you at all, is what would happen. Unless that has dramatically changed, but back then it was nowhere near 2%.
Okay, so do you want to amend your motion to remove the cap and have Matt discuss it with,
Remove the cap
Yep.
and then discuss those 3 questions, just so we have more information
Yep.
about future decisions.
and then re-vote again in February?
And obviously, the first question is, can you remove the cap for this year as
Yeah,
opposed to next year?
remove cap
But-
for 2024-25.
But
Okay, so we'll file the paperwork to remove the cap to see if we can get the student in this year. If they tell us no, we'll report back to you. Claire, right? Yes. No, removing the cap is everyone. Removing the cap is for everybody. So we will ask if we're able to remove the cap for this year, because based on the documents we have, it says we can't, but we're gonna ask if we can remove the cap. Matt's gonna send in that paperwork. And then he's gonna ask if we can have the ability to re-implement it again if needed, and
We
then.
can't just
if-
remove it for like this upcoming year, like new year, let's remove the cap for the year and then maybe see it next year.
Just keep it at 2%.
Yeah, like next year.
There's like a handful of counties, like literally a handful, that are at 1%. Everyone else in Massachusetts has changed their district to 2%.
And it's district-wide.
And you
I know you
guys
keep saying open, but
have
it's
this
district.
old policy that nobody even knows about. So let's just get rid of the old and in with the new. Like, really.
Like maybe for 2026, March 8th, we could re-see this and open it for a whole year. Because I have 4 kids and they're all in school and, you know, I'd like to keep them
And
together.
I don't want to come back to these meetings and do this again.
Well, we're gonna do what we said we're gonna do, and we're gonna send in the document to remove the cap to see if we can get your student enrolled by the date that you're looking to enroll them by. If for some reason they come back to us and tell us that we are not allowed to do that this year, we'll let you know. The only other options that you would have would be to homeschool your child, traditional homeschooling, or work with the administration to have them come back to the building. So, the motion has been made and seconded, and all those in favor? Okay. Perfect. Okay. Next, we have building-based substitutes and ACEs.
Sure. So I have been speaking with both our co-leaders of the building at ACES, and one of the requests that we are entertaining is, we are constantly, and this conversation has come before the committee, I'm sure, 100 times. We got back into the conversation of permanent building subs versus calling subs in on a daily basis. We did move to our frontline automated subsystem, which has helped, but the reality is we don't have a tremendous amount of people that are coming into sub, and I think it incentivizes people to stay and do the job if we offer them more of a permanent building sub position. The request was going to be to pilot putting 4 permanent building subs into ACES for the remainder of this year. That funding would come straight from the substitute budget line. And if it did end up going over for any reason, we would supplement it with school choice money and then make some assessment as to whether or not it was, you know, in our best interest to continue with permanent building subs or just go back to doing a regular call day by day. But the thought was the more consistency, particularly for the kids, the better. So that is the proposal.
Is the pay rate different for the building subs than regular subs, or is it the same?
Would be the sub rate, right?
It would be, yeah, it would be
Whatever
a
their-
regular sub rate. The only, their,
Depending on if they had a degree.
Right,
If they have a
right.
4-year degree, they get a different rate.
Yeah.
If they've been in the district longer than so long, they get a different rate. Okay. So do you need a motion and a?
I would need a motion.
Okay. So the motion will be to pilot 4 permanent building subs at ACES for the remainder of the fiscal 24-25 year. Is there a motion? Okay, motion made? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just a clarification. If you have 4 permanent building subs, is that a position that they would be in the building every day? And what happens if there's not a need for a sub? Are they sent home? Or- No, I'm being serious.
That has never,
No, but
happened,
it seems to me
ever.
we're creating 4 building positions, and I want to know, what are they going to do if there's not I'm just hypothetical.
Yeah, no, the administration would redirect
Okay.
them to service the needs of
And
students.
and I'm well aware that there's probably the need, but I just,
And to be clear, these subs would not just be doing teaching positions, they also fill in for paraeducators as well. So between the number of one-to-one paras and classroom paras and educators, I don't think we've ever had a day where there was less than 4 people out at ACES.
Even aside from absences, there's meetings to be covered.
He doesn't ask anybody
as well. And so this is really something that came from the staff that they asked for over and over again. And so we typically have anywhere between 18 and 22 staff members out, and we have about 6 subs. Yeah, it's a juggling, and Brandy has been doing a phenomenal job of trying to keep all of it covered. She deserves all of the credit.
Benefits as being more permanent, or what's?
We've not been paying that, have we been paying benefits for building subs?
Well, subs
daily
aren't,
subs?
aren't,
No benefits.
but they're not permanent employees.
Right, unless
Right.
they're a permanent long, yeah, no, the answer's no.
So just wondering, like, is there an
I
incentive?
was gonna say, I think we would have to offer these people
I was just gonna,
There would be
there's gotta be some sort of
There would be
union
benefits
input.
attached to it.
They're gonna have something to say. Union's gonna have something to say about this, I'd imagine.
It's the union asking for it.
I understand, but
it's
we
the
kn-
union aid teachers
It's
who
the
are
same-
mostly asking for it.
It's
so-
essentially, I would be viewing it essentially as a long-term sub, except they're not in a specific class, they're just positioned at the building.
Change the terminology to not permanent, you know?
Well, this is a pilot.
Maybe we say,
Yeah, I understand the pilot, yeah. I'm just saying, will there be any, will we have any issues? Someone,
Could they be using other buildings to Lee's point, like if, for some reason we had a great day at Aces, but
Arms are struggling?
every day is a great day at Aces.
In all of our
Lieutenant.
buildings.
Touche.
Yeah, I suppose, but I really don't anticipate. I mean, we have 4 days where we have special ed meetings, we have 504 meetings, we have, other things going on. And so, that would be really an anomaly, but sure, of course, if we, if one building was really short and we had a plethora of adults, then we'd be happy to share the wealth, but, No, but we're also trying to be very responsive to our staff who are trying, when we ask, what do we need? And they tell us, I want to be responsive.
and to be clear, we do regularly move people around the district to try to fill the holes in different positions. I can say many times we have people from central office going out to the buildings to help, either as a para or as an admin assistant. We have a lot of people that we have moved, and like, again, I don't want to make it sound like every day we're just throwing people everywhere, but as needed, if it's urgent, we will try to make sure that any building has what they need.
So there's a motion made and seconded. Is there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Abstaining? Okay. Thank you. Communications, we have district enrollment in your packet for December and January. Seems like we grew again, yet again. We're at 1,637 total enrollments in the district. Does anybody have any questions? You can reach out to Matt. Okay, financial statements and approval of accounts. The review, go ahead, Nancy, I'm gonna turn it over to you. All you.
All right, so in your packets, you're gonna find the usual iVision reports, and these are expenses through December 31st. So overall, the fiscal year 25 budget is on track with the budgeted expenses. The good news is that our Title I fiscal year 25 grant has been officially approved with the Department of Ed. Because of this, this allows for the allocations up to $500,000 in salaries to be applied to the general budget. You will not see this in this report at this time, but you'll see it next month as the allocations still need to be made. So that's definitely going to open up some savings. Additionally, I'm working on a reimbursement for ESSA foster care for last year expenditures, which I think will come out to about $4,000 of reimbursement. And then quickly, there's a couple of things, new overages that I wanted to bring to your attention. The first one is in the 1,000 series. It's under staff appreciation and district advertising. The main part of this one is that when we post our jobs, when I first started, they were posted on School Spring and on Indeed. Indeed's very expensive, so since then we changed it that we only post on Indeed when we don't have a lot of applicants, when it's hard to find positions. So that's kind of leveling out to help us save money in that line item. The next line item is the next 4 line items are in the 2000 series. One you'll see that is over is the interim dean at arms, which you previously approved. The mentors show over, but most of that will go away in next month as the fiscal year 25 Title IIA grant was written for mentors, so I just have to reallocate the funds for that. Professional development is over, and that's just different line items taken from different buckets. So next year, I'm just gonna coordinate the line items differently. Textbooks is showing over, and that's because of a new program called Newsella that used to be paid out of ESSER and wasn't paid out of ESSER this year. And lastly, the line item in the 4,000 series for high school grounds salaries. So when the budget was built last year, the business manager at the time put the high school grounds person out of athletic revolving, the full salary. So after forecasting it out, when I first came on board, I switched that to be 50% of the general budget and 50% being taken from athletic revolving. And I'll reevaluate it at the end of the year, and if I can transfer it back, I will. But at this time, I think we're safer keeping it the way it is. So that is my update on fiscal year 25 budget. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So I wanted to go over the fiscal year 26 budget so we could show you guys where we are at this point in time. I want to show you what we have accomplished so far, what we have left to complete, and what we're waiting on. So let me see if I know how to. Okay. Thank you. So what we've done to date. So to date, we met with all the leadership team. The leadership team has evaluated their needs in their buildings, and it was put together, and then they met with the superintendent and or myself. We had meetings, reviewed their requests. After the requests were given to us, I then put it into the financial software where it is now. Then we took their new requests and asked them to sort it by your must-haves versus what would be nice to have. And then constantly, the superintendent, we're looking at potential other funding opportunities, grants or other revenue buckets to see any other sources that we can take the money from. What needs to be done to complete the budget? The main thing we're waiting on at this point in time is the governor's budget to be released. It's scheduled to be released January 22nd. I'm excited for that date because at that time, we'll know where we stand. We'll be able to evaluate our expenditures versus our revenue, and we'll really be able to dig into this budget and see what we can do and where we stand. And then we'll be able to finalize the budget. After we finalize the budget, we'll meet with the finance committees at both towns. And then we'll have the public hearing on March 19th, and then the towns vote. Athol has their town meeting on Monday, June 9th, and Royalston on Saturday, June 7th. So since we can't talk about the revenue that we don't know what we're going to get, I thought it would be nice to kind of go over the requests that we received from the leadership team, the new budget requests. So I broke it out by school and departments, and I thought we could quickly go over what they're looking for. So I'll start with Royalston Community School. So they're looking for a replacement of soccer goals and nets. They're old and need to be replaced. Currently, they're looking for, in Royalston and ACES, Lexia, which is a reading intervention software platform for kindergarten through 6. Currently, Bridges is being piloted for math. And Eureka is currently being used, so it's going to be one or the other. And then Royalston has requested additional PD for the teachers. So currently, the way I budgeted for next year, the superintendent and I budgeted for next year, is that PD be spread throughout the district. So Royalston's asking for a little bit above that for their teachers to do some trauma-informed instruction. For ACEs, they're looking for the continuation of the interim dean of students. Same thing with Alexia, Bridges, Eureka. And one other thing that they have is a new early literacy program called Foundations. And if that goes through, they're requesting 4 additional general paraprofessionals to help run the programming for grade 1. For instructional technology, they would like to start a cycle of replacement of devices for our staff. So this would be, next year would be year 1 of a 3-year cycle. It would be approximately 50 Chromebooks. They would like approximately 5 PCs for administrators and administrator support. So now, as I start to go through this, you're gonna see some items that have asterisks next to it. So what that means, it was previously budgeted in a different revenue source or a different line item. So the reason I'm including it as a new budget request is when we really start to dive into this, it's gonna look like that category is a lot higher than what it was last year, and it's mainly because of movement. But I wanted to put them on here just for reasoning as to why it will look so high once we really get into it. So in the business office, that's my request for onboarding for time and attendance software. So this is an additional module on top of the software that we currently have. So the business office is very thank you. I was looking for the appropriate word. And yes. And onboarding, we're really working hard on onboarding to make it a smooth process for all. And this will really help. It'll make everything electronic, and it's great. So that's my must request for myself. So for the middle school, looking to continue the Dean of Students, for the interim Dean of Students that you approved this year, an additional grade 5 teacher due to enrollment. If in the back of my presentation, there's an appendix that I started and will be built upon as we continue to build the budget, but you'll see, I mean, you were presented the enrollment figures earlier. What I did, I believe it's page 14, is I took the enrollment and then I forecasted it out for next year to kind of show you how the movement going up from ACEs to 5th grade, it is a big increase of enrollment. And the middle school is also looking for a unified arts Spanish teacher. The foreign language is currently not offered in the middle school, and they would like to start that. At the high school, they're looking for pottery wheels, additional pottery wheels for their art class. Looking, as you heard earlier from our student rep, they really want to enhance the theater program, so additional theater supplies. Additional supplies for extracurricular activities. We have our NEASC visit next year, which is our accreditation process that we started a little bit this year. In athletics, for football needs new helmets, shoulder pads, and uniforms for the middle school. High jump mats, replacement, old, needs to be replaced. And the last thing is uniforms. So the athletic director is working on finalizing a uniform replacement cycle that I will present at a future meeting, and at that time, we'll let you know what new uniforms they will be. Pupil services. We're looking for an assistant director of pupil services. The level of the workload that our current director of pupil services has is extremely high, and she needs assistance. The ARMS school counselor, we're having increased SEL needs. So that's needed under pupil services, and obviously that goes under ARMS. Additional BCBA, additional support is needed. A BCBA support specialist that will help implement the behavioral plan. Translation, which I Dan mentioned earlier, is a high need. So additional software, which is called LexiKeet, which this is for when we don't have someone available to help with the languages that that's not common. And then a translator in-house would be contracted to help support people in person and help translate documentation. And then we got 3 things adding in on different line items: the safety care training, Teach Town curriculum, and AAC devices that are currently in the budget right now, just that's movement. Then lastly, we have facilities. So with facilities, in Royalston, there's repairs needed to the parking lot. The water heater needs replacement. It's very old. It's the original to the building. Would like to replace 2 old bubblers with bottle filling stations. We were able to already do one through the wellness grant this year. That's been done, so there's 2 left. The principal has asked for some standing desk and horseshoe tables. Add in an annual roof inspection and a preventative maintenance for exterior doors. That's already being done, just movement. For ACEs, preventative maintenance for paving, and adding it in, well, movement would be the annual roof inspection and preventative maintenance for the exterior doors. The high school, annual roof inspection, replacement of garage doors for the athletic shed, and preventative maintenance for exterior doors. They're all very similar. Middle school, annual roof inspection, repairs and sealing to the parking lot, sewer pump inspection, replace 4 old bubblers with the filling stations, and preventative maintenance for exterior doors. So what are our next steps to wrap this up? Our next steps are, our first one is wait for the governor's budget to come out. Hopefully it will go as planned for January 22nd. Once that happens, we're gonna review our current revenue streams, our revolving revenue streams, and see if there's any openings where we can fund some of the new items from there. One would be the DESI one-time funds that I brought to your attention earlier this year, or our rural aid that we receive. Hopefully, we can use some of those funds to take care of some of these new requests. Another one is to review where we are with our fiscal year 25 expenses, forecast them out as best as we can, and see if we think we're gonna have any remaining funds where we can actually prepay some of these new requests. So those are my top 2 things. And then we're gonna continue to meet with the leadership team. The budget is a evolving process that changes weekly. New needs come up, sometimes needs fall through. So we'll consistently be meeting with the leadership team to see where we stand. We'll analyze the enrollment. We're gonna ensure that the budget aligns with our enrollment to make sure the needs are where they need to be. And we're gonna align the budget with our long-term plans. So as we meet with the leadership team and we decide where we wanna go as a district, we're gonna make sure our budget is bringing us where we need to be.
So, not to cut Nancy
Yep,
off
I'm
now, but
just about done, so, yep.
I just wanted to emphasize too, in Nancy and my conversations, the question may come up, well, we don't have all the numbers yet. Why are we gonna present all of this, all the asks? I want the committee and the community to see what all of the requests were, right? We are going to go through the process of whittling through this and making sure that we can try to reach a place where the budget is palatable for our community. However, for starters, and I think the committee, and I do believe the community, all know how many services we need for our students and how much we need to do for them. So the principals and their leadership teams worked with their staff, their instructional leaders, and they put their budgets together at the building level. Nancy and I reviewed them with every cost center manager, principals, director of athletics, other directors. There's a lot of asks, but there's a lot of need. So I just want everyone to see the transparency in the process, that these are the numbers that we're requesting. You will see eventually the full amount all of the numbers itemized that the principals and the leadership team gave us, and then we'll compare that to where we are at. And then what we'll do is explain as best as we can as funding becomes more available. Okay, we're gonna supplement this with funding this year for, to cover some of the curriculum material. Or, as Nancy said, we'll bring from one grant to purchase some other things. But I want everyone to see the entirety of the requests, so that's all.
And the remaining pages are in the appendix, but what I included for you, I thought it was good to see the other revenue sources. So I included what was budgeted for '25 in building the budget, where I think we will end up, what I'm forecasting for '26, which is very preliminary. It's very difficult to forecast grants at this point in time. And the entitlement grants, I just kept level. And just did a dollar and percent change for you to see. It's all very early, but it's just to give you a idea of what we have to work with. And that's what I have, so, yeah.
I do have a little bit on some of the tech budget.
Yep.
And this is just put that out there. I know some of the programs, depending on what, and at least I know in the science, like some of the Project Lead the Way, Chromebooks for staff don't work for some of those programs. And I know they already have some laptops in-house from that. So that's just a concern I have. And then just the other thing is, I know we have more than 150 staff. And based on their 3-year cycle, that's the number of Chromebooks in the 3-year cycle is only 150. So are we buying enough Chromebooks to make sure that we're doing a changeover that is effective, and we're not leaving any staff out of getting new technology? So that's just a couple things that I see and concerns that we're making sure that those pieces are covered and that staff, because I know a lot of staff use desktop computers partly because sometimes the Chromebooks are not sufficient to run some of the software that they use to demonstrate in class. So just putting that out there.
There are always, it's an excellent point, Laura. There are always programs, particularly at the high school level, where PCs are necessary.
Right.
So to be
So
clear, we will provide any
No,
educators
I'm
and
just saying, like,
kids
I know
that
they're looking to replace and things, but I'm like, if we're replacing, we're making sure that the PCs are also getting updated appropriately too, because I know there are some old ones kicking around.
You are correct. Mine's on that list.
Are there any other questions on the finance?
The only one that I had, looking at the estimated revenue, and I know these are purely just estimates, but there was a pretty big jump in school choice. I didn't know what the thought process was on that.
At that point in time, it was, this budget is extremely high. And what am I gonna have to pull to fund it? So like just a ballpark. And, yeah, it was just extremely high and just trying my best to see where we would land.
So we would be essentially taking out funds from school choice potentially to pay for some of these asks. Is that what you're saying?
So I wouldn't pull from school choice to take some of these asks. I would pull from the DESI one-time funds or rural aid. This would be to fund next year's budget. But that is extremely high. You gotta take that honestly with a grain of salt right now because we don't know where we stand with the other revenue. That's a tough one to really, yeah. Like when I do with the final budget presentation, school choice will be a slide and you'll see clearly where, yeah. Yes.
It's interesting to know how important the leadership team is, because I always wondered, what about the leadership team? And now I'm really finding out, and it's something that's really needed, because there's so many different voices that you're hearing in there. That's very good. Whose idea was that?
To
put in the leadership team?
The leader,
Was you?
well, gathered all of the leaders together to make decisions. It's just kind of how the process shook out. We want everyone to be involved, particularly in the budgeting. It should come from the staff, right? So the staff feed that information to their instructional leaders, that feed to the leaders of the buildings and the departments. Then, as you mentioned, Nancy and I bring that team of leaders together and we start going through all of it. But Cindy and I and our executive team, we meet weekly. We also meet with all of the principals weekly. So there's a lot of collaboration and there's a lot of everyone knowing what's happening everywhere in the district. And we're trying to make sure that we continue that.
That is so important. It's so important. Thank you. Thank you for putting that in. Thank you, Nancy, too.
Moving along, so we have reports of the committee. First, the chair, I have a couple of things that I wanted to bring to you tonight. Hearing in the past couple of months that ARMS has had some issues in the classroom, I have joined the PTO, so Frank also is on the PTO. And this week, we met on Monday evening to address the culture and what the PTO can do as a parent group to look at the situations that are happening in the classroom. The administration from in the building here met with us as well. They brought some ideas, everything from a hall monitors, having people volunteer their time here as hall monitors. We have there's some new lunch staff that come into the building and help with the lunchtime rush and crowd of the kids and a little bit of craziness down there. But the PTO is really focusing on what we can do and what programs we can bring from the outside in and utilize what we have inside to help our students be the best students that they can be here in the building. So the PTO is on top of that, and I just wanted to say thanks to Dave King. He kind of was instrumental this week with my text message at 7 o'clock in the morning going, hey, what can we do? So Miss Bouchard is doing the theater class up at the high school, and I texted him with an idea, how do we get the high school kids to come down here and mentor our middle schoolers as we use our middle schoolers in the ambassadors program to go down to ACES and mentor them. And the idea was brought up that we would have the theater class make a skit. Well, I didn't really envision it, but Miss Julie Bouchard envisioned a 45-minute skit, which was talked about a little bit during the student representative report. But I really wanted to say thank you to having Julie come up with something so quickly. We're going to come back to you as the PTO and really utilize the high school to help the culture here in the middle school. And I just want the administrators here in the building to know that the PTO sees you. We understand that there's issues here, and we're doing the best that we can. And we thank you for your collaboration. It was really nice to hear what you guys need from us as parents, in addition to just the basic fundraising that PTOs typically do. So thank you again, Dave. I appreciate you, and, looking at my text at 7 in the morning going, okay, let me call Julie. So I appreciate that. The other thing is we thank you, Brittany and Bobby, and I and Matt. We went up to the Royalston Select Board last evening. Yes. And thank you, TJ. Sorry, you're just chopped liver back there. TJ, yeah. It's funny because Greg Vine didn't know your name. He's like, who's PJ? And I'm like, it's TJ. He's like, oh, I know that guy. But anyway. Yeah, probably. But we went up to the select board in Royalston last evening and talked a little bit about the high school program, the build for the MSBA and what that would look like for the Royalston community and where we are in the process. Matt did a nice 10, 15-minute presentation about how early in the infancy stages we really are. We will be presenting that same presentation to the select board next the 21st, whatever, yeah, Tuesday. It's Tuesday evening. So if there's any Athol resident who would like to come to the select board and listen to what Matt has to say, I'm sure we can also present it at the February committee. We've already kind of went through it in December about where we stand, but it's basically just so that we involve the towns from the very get-go about where we stand with the MSBA program. So thank you for putting that together, and thank you to Brittany and Bobby for coming out and supporting it, and TJ too, won't forget you. So those are the two things that I have as the chair, and we'll move on to budget and finance. And Lee, this is your easy job. Okay, facility stuff. Laura?
We met this evening, and TJ did a great job going over all the things that are happening around the district and getting fixed on a regular and timely basis. So, thank you, TJ.
Public relations.
We also, me too. So we met, was it last week? I'm like forgetting what week. Yeah, a couple weeks. And we talked more about the vision of a graduate, and we've gone over some of the materials that Matt has been sending things out to all partners in the district to begin the formation of a steering committee for that.
And if you haven't responded to the steering committee survey, I did send out an email. And while I would say I certainly don't expect everyone to be signing up for the steering committee, I do encourage everyone to open the attachment, though, that's in the email that explains a little bit more about the work of the vision of a graduate. And it also has in that sheet, it has other opportunities for how people will be involved in the process. So I do encourage anyone in the community to open that up from the attachment I sent.
Negotiations?
We did meet in December to start the conversation as per the vote with Matt regarding his contract negotiations. That is we're in very preliminary stages of that. There'll be more information coming soon.
Academic excellence?
We did not meet this month, but we are scheduled to meet next month on the 10th.
Perfect, thank you. And policy?
All right, so there's a few policies in here. There are also our meeting minutes from November and December. The policies that we have on the table for a second read are the EHAA and EHB. Those are technology-related policies. And then the last policy, ECAA, which is the use of facilities and grounds, that is on a third reading. So I would be looking for a motion this evening to approve.
Motion made and seconded? Motion made and seconded? Is there any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? Thank you. Committee member referrals? Eric, you've been quiet? No? Anything? Take it away. Nothing for you this evening? All right. Bobby, do you have any referrals this evening?
No.
Nothing for you tonight.
Laura? Emily? Brittany? Okay. Frank? Yep.
Get that back, keep that on the agenda.
Matt can give us an email when he gets things rolling and let us know where we stand.
Absolutely.
And Lee, anything this evening? Okay. We do have a need to go into executive session this evening to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. We will not be coming back into open session, so we need a vote to go into executive session. Eric Jack, yes? Just say your first name and yes. Gotcha. Great. Okay, Tammy Duquette, aye. All right. We can take a couple-minute break. The committee will be meeting in the small conference room so they can break this down so we don't have to wait around. Thank you for setting that up. Thank you. Yes, you too. Safe drive home.